Alright, some of y'all been waiting for this, and I've been waiting for this, so let's go ahead and see how Fluttermane won. I don't know. That's two battle royales in a row where the one I wanted to win won. So that's pretty cool. Blaziken won the starter royale. Fluttermane won this one. I'm I'm happy with it. Anyways, let's go ahead and find out how and why. Yeah. Alright, Lockstin, what you got?
The past is already gone, lost, and the future doesn't exist.
Yeah.
All we can truly do is embrace the gift that is now. That is why it is called the present. That's what I'd say if I wanted to sound profound. But hey, if we got all of the Paradox Pokemon into one enclosed space, say Blueberry Academy, and then had them fight Battle Royale style, who would last the longest? Who would be the most likely to win?
Apparently Fluttermane.
And why? Well, I helped write the Paradox Pokemon Battle Royale over on the
I
terminal.
mean, it does make sense, because have you seen Fluttermane's stats? Like, it's pretty busted. And the only downside to it is its physicality. Other than that, it's pretty busted. Like, what was it, like base 135 with like all of its special stats and speed? Like, I'd say that's a pretty good price. I'd say that's a pretty good exchange for their shit defense, honestly. Like, or at least I would.
Montage channel, and in this video, I'm going to explain some of what happened in said battle, and then explain why the winners are who they are. So kick back, grab a snack, and watch it again with me. I love the SpongeBob transition. So remember, while Area 0 is the center of Paradox and Terrestrialization shenanigans, the core up in Blueberry Academy is made of the same crystal dirt stuff from there.
Oh.
That's why you can still terrestrialize there. We took a creative liberty and had the time machine malfunction so bad, it sent the caught Paradox Pokemon here. All in Master Balls because that's what they're all in. So
Yeah,
Violet's future Paradox Pokemon are all various types of robots, droids, androids, cyborgs, xenobots, autonomous vehicles, etc. More details in our video explaining all of their lore here, but we had fun with this referentially and made the...
I might have to look at that, because I do not know the lore to any of the Paradox other than Iron Valiant, and even then I don't know everything about that, because the only thing I know about Iron Valiant is the is that it's like a fuse of Mega Gardevoir and Gallade and then robotized or something like that. Yeah, I might have to look at that at some point.
Adorable and tiny Iron Moth, a turret from Portal, as Iron Moth is able to shoot its feet forward like bullets, and also it's tiny. Iron Bundle, who honestly is already pretty comic reliefy thanks to its whole concept, mannerisms, and animations, is a Star Wars battle droid. Iron Treads is an old Windows PC and a Roomba, or maybe that vacuum from Teletubbies. Iron Jugulis is seen hiding in a cave and looking out, making it appear as a silhouette, and thus with its two puppet-looking hands, references the Mystery Science Theater 3000 trio, which has two puppet robots. They are commentating on the pre-Cambrian era fight that they are seeing, as Fluttermane and Roaring Moon are both...
Oh, you know that reminds me of? People were telling me that I should have kept the captions on whenever I watched the actual video, and I turned them off because I thought it was just... I don't even have a good reason for turning it off. I just turned it off because I just didn't want to see them. Like, I should have left them on. I haven't even gone back to rewatch it with the captions on too, so that's something I'm gonna have to do in my own time.
Past Paradox Pokemon from millions upon millions of years ago. But now here comes Iron Thorns, who's just a Mecha Kaiju, a Mecha Godzilla, a Mecha Bemular. Jugulis insults Thorns, so Thorns destroys Jugulis, but not before Jugulis launches its puppety handheads at Thorns' face, which it is known to do. Automated combat. Koraidon and Great Tusk land with a large thud, and Koraidon lets out a dinosaur roar. You'll notice in this fight, none of the past paradoxes speak, while the futures do plenty. I mean, even Caveman didn't speak the same way that we think of speech these days. Brute Bonnet, Unga Bunga's about, and is the battle's first fatality.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. I'm actually gonna have to go rewatch it after this.
The competitive and aggressive Koraidon saw its stupid face as an easy target, though Bonnet explodes into poisonous spores.
He looks ugly, easy target.
And toxic powder. Not the smartest move, Koraidon. It essentially just hurt itself, which is pretty in line with what it does. So did Brute Bonnet deserve to be the first fatality? Maybe. Someone had to be it. So the second slowest...
Look, it was the ugliest, so it had to go first. I mean, who else was gonna go first?
Paradox Pokemon that's also very rarely used in the meta and has very few type or lore advantages over the other Paradoxes? Yeah. Raging Bolt pops out of the water as that's where it likes to hang, and when Sandy Shocks gets out, they don't immediately fight. They have a sparky electric type connection, and Sandy Shocks happily hops into the water with Raging Bolt, not realizing how deep it is. Bolt's neck is long. The two Volcarona Paradoxes are fighting. The fighting type Slitherwing is particularly combative, while Iron Moth, the extraterrestrial observational satellite, tries to avoid combat all it can. Its tiny body, less than a third the size of Slitherwing's, makes dodging Slitherwing's punches and kicks easy, and it can shoot back from afar. Eventually, Slitherwing uses its wings to double jump and slam down into the ground to release numerous spores into the air, obscuring Iron Moth's vision.
Are you still there?
And allowing Slither to get a good kick in, sending Moth straight into the terrarium's glass dome.
And killing it too.
So Roaring Moon and Fluttermane are fighting. Roaring Moon is extremely aggressive.
I don't think we can exactly equate that to fighting. I'm pretty sure Fluttermane was just trolling the whole fight. Which I just love. It was just dodging and it was like, you can't touch me. And just pissing off Roaring Moon, and I just love it.
And violent, being essentially an ancient Mega Salamence, while Fluttermane is a small and
not gonna lie, I think a Roaring Moon actually does look way cooler than Mega Salamence. I'm not the only one who thinks that, okay? I know I'm not. Like, come on, I know I'm not. There are other people who think Roaring Moon looks way cooler than Mega Salamence, okay? Especially since it gets to keep its arms instead of looking like a flying croissant. Yeah, like, or at least that's what I thought. I don't know. Maybe someone else likes the Mega more than the Paradox, but I like the Paradox more. And I know I'm not the only one, because, yeah, the Roaring Moon definitely has one of the best Paradox designs out there. Yeah.
Tricky Ghost, vanishing to avoid Moon's attacks. Soon, Fluttermane fades away completely and hides behind Iron Thorns, who's currently eating the remains of Jugulis, causing Moon to attack and destroy Thorns to get to Fluttermane. But Thorns' ripped out thorns explode in Moon's hands. Bonus fun fact, some militaries are already in research and development for military robots that feed on other robots and corpses to recharge and repair themselves on the field.
Did not know that.
The future is fun.
Yeah.
So a lot of dinosaur media is in documentary format, right?
Yes,
so we
that
have
is
a few lines from David Attenborough's Prehistoric Planet series narrating over Screamtail. Though while the lines after the first one are all from Prehistoric Planet initially,
the actual voice in the battle is me, doing my best impression, and putting the recording through a plethora of filters.
While just a headcanon theory, there are some suggestions that Iron Leaves is the steed of Iron Valiant, though not a very good one. Compared to the other future paradoxes, they both move very animatronically stiff. But based on the Violet book and Pokédex, Iron Valiant is a cruel robot.
Oh, there's actually stuff in there. Has some similarities to a mad scientist invention covered in a paranormal magazine. It's possible that this is the object listed as Iron Valiant in a certain Okay, then. An experiment gone wrong. This oddity's name is borrowed from that and an object described in the Violet book. One theory holds that it is in fact a robot, the product of a mad scientist's efforts to create the most powerful psychic Pokemon of all. According to its few eyewitnesses, Iron Valiant appears similar to both Gardevoir and Gallade. True. It's also said to be cruel enough to take its brilliantly shining blade and cut down anyone confronting it without hesitation. Neat.
Built by a mad scientist who
I knew it had something to do with an experiment type thing, yeah.
Down others without hesitation, so we made it observe its surroundings like the Terminator, which is doubly fitting as it's chasing Screamtail down and thus referencing this older meme format.
Yeah.
Now caught, Screamtail's tiny little limbs can't help defend itself, but it can scream Agretsuko style! It's a puffy Majin Buu! This causes Iron Valiant sensors to go haywire and eventually be defeated. The sound waves make the terrarium glass crack even more.
That's gotta be embarrassing though. Like, your Iron Valiant's like a very powerful Paradox Pokemon, and you get defeated by Screamtail of all things. You got defeated by past Jigglypuff. Like, I would actually be embarrassed. Like, you know what they should have done? They should have done the anime thing with Jigglypuff too, where it takes out the marker and draws on your face when you fall asleep. Yeah, except the only difference is that instead of sleep, you're dead. Yeah, it's just desecrating your corpse instead.
But Iron Hands is fun, right? A cyborg sumo wrestler with floating hands. It tries to use those hands to stop Great Tusk from charging at it, but in being electric hands and Tusk being ground type, Tusk doesn't care. Iron Hands flees and passes through several walls, which it's prone to do, apparently. But Tusk is quite weak to ice attacks, so it freezes solid when hit by Iron Bundle's blaster. Cue a caveman YouTube poop I hope people understand.
Oh, I understood
I
it.
just remembered we're in there and that we're those out here and that...
I remember it being a lot longer, though. Like, I think it went on for like a good 10, 20 seconds, though. Yeah.
More mouthing off. Just off screen, Slitherwing approaches, seeing Great Tusk as a fun next opponent. So, Great Tusk begins to thaw out. While not fire type itself, Slitherwing is a paradox form of a particularly hot fire type, Volcarona. And Slitherwing can learn many fire type moves. It's even so hot that it can burn others and damage itself in the process. It can barely manage its own body heat. But before they can really
Yeah, now they gotta give the fucker Flare Blitz.
fight, both get turned into roadkill by the bikers, Koraidon and Miraidon, who have been racing. Sandy Shocks has long, ridiculous, stretchy legs, which it uses to finally escape from the water, and in being a hair metal band reference, it screams quiorically while magnetically pulling in everything around it, including the screws and bolts from the terrarium's dome.
You know what I'm thinking? I've just thought of something. Like, what if it's pulling in all the magnetic shit that, the Metal Sonic thing from that one. What was that Sonic game? I don't know. It was one game where he just pulled in a bunch of metal shit and then just turned into a fucking kaiju or something. Yeah, that's honestly what this reminds me of. Yeah, whenever I look at it a second time, yeah.
As well as the Violet Paradox Pokemon. Only those fast enough like Iron Bundle or heavy enough like Iron Boulder can escape. Iron Leaves activates its lightsaber leaf blades and destroys Sandy Shocks before it's too late.
Initiating growling sound effects.
Good old text-to-speech programs before AI. Iron Hands, being part fighting type, has no chance against the psychic-type Iron Swords trio, so flees and runs into the proto-legendary beasts and holds out its hands like that one Jurassic World scene, but it lacks a third hand to stay safe. The Helldiver's Automaton March is heard emanating from the Iron Swords, who, in essentially being the opposite of the original Swords of Justice, which stand for liberty and justice for all democracy Americana stuff, makes this very fitting as they kind of stand opposed to all that. Now, this for sure was a creative liberty that maybe the anime will do when it gets to them. They transform like Transformers and combine like many a Voltron or Power Rangers mecha and become the mysterious Paradox Pokemon seen in the Violet book.
Yeah, like this actually looks cool. Like I'll be honest, I did not give two shits about any of the sword thingies, Paradox forms at all, because I think they all look stupid. I did not like any of them, but this actually does look pretty cool. I didn't even know that was a thing, because I have not played the DLC, and I don't think I'm going to. Yeah. And it's, yeah, this actually does look cool, and I can definitely see the anime doing something like that. The anime kind of does some crazy shit every now and then. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Merges all three of them. But two can play at that game. The Proto Beasts decide to give it a try too, and with a magical girly evolution effect they achieve nothing. Actually, they can't actually do that, they are biological. But they can dream. The Iron Swords charge at the
well, maybe Infinite Fusion will figure something out if they get added into it, okay? maybe we could figure something out. Maybe.
Trio, Gouging Fire prepares its shield, so the swords change their targets to Walking Wake, defeating it and Raging Bolt, and more of the terrarium's dome. Meanwhile, Koraidon and Roaring Moon get into a tussle. Moon takes a punch and then uses Frenzied Gouging, knocking Koraidon and itself out in the process. And the terrarium dome also. It begins to flood. Shrapnel from the dome lands on the swords, separating and defeating them and causing Iron Crown's check engine light to come on. And poor Gouging Fire cannot swim, but Walking Wake can run on water and perhaps even perfectly float when fainted. It's just a silly
it's just
joke.
solid.
So we reach the final four and the ultimate showdown. Miraidon, Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, and Screamtail.
Yep.
I love this fight. We got Iron Bundle mouthing off the whole time while dodging lightning as the fastest one here. Fluttermane tries to spook Screamtail.
I haven't checked what it's, you know, I'm gonna check what Iron Bundle's base speed. I'm pretty sure it's 136. I just want to make sure though. Okay, I was right. Iron Bundle does have 136 base speed. Yeah, I was right. Just had to make sure. Yeah, he just beat Fluttermane by 1 base stat. Because Fluttermane does have 130 special attack, defense, and speed. So he just barely became the fastest one. So Fluttermane isn't really too far behind.
Which backfires because screaming, which then messes with Miraidon and Bundle's sensors, causing more misses and more bad-mouthing. Bundle rockets up but accidentally runs into the invisible Fluttermane, then using its extendable neck, plays whack-a-mole with Miraidon, while Screamtail is avoiding Shadow Balls from Fluttermane.
I swear, I thought those were
Screamtail then
Blast.
disables Fluttermane's Shadow Ball and encores it. A hilarious and terrible situation to be in.
Yeah.
Miraidon gets pelted with snow, dodges, and then
How many people have had that happen to them? Getting encored and disabled into something. Like, I've definitely seen getting encored but not disabled at the same time. Like, you don't really see that happening. The main thing I see is Pokemon getting encored, specifically when you're doing like a hardcore Nuzlocke. So you can lock into a move and then But
punches
disabled
Iron
too,
Bundle
Jesus.
like a rock'em sock'em robot and zaps it, sending electricity all the way up its neck and attacking all 3 of its opponents at once.
Yep.
And now, the big final attack. Everyone all at once prepares a move. Thankfully, Fluttermane's encore has ended. The attacks all come out, and... Wait, where's Fluttermane?
He won.
Oh, it used Phantom Force! A move where it goes into another dimension to protect itself for a while, and then comes out for a big attack!
And won't do much damage because its base attack was like 35 or 50 or something. It's not that much. But you want to know the funny thing is, its base attack is probably still higher than Onyx. Yeah, if you don't know, Onyx base attack stat is like lower than fucking Suwaddle's. So, yeah.
Was safe from the 3 other attacks and finished off the gang in the end! What a sneaky little trickster! So now comes the big why with all this. As always, it's not easy. Even though you could mathematically say these stats, types, and moves make X Pokemon the strongest of the bunch, that doesn't take into account their personalities and demeanors, which has a huge impact. It also doesn't take into account a battle royale setting, or stats and things working differently in a non-turn-based system. But as always, we don't just look at the games, but the card game, the anime, and even manga. But in this case, Terminal and I have now caught up with these battle royales. There is not really much to go off of with these Pokemon. The anime hasn't really reached them, and they barely have cards. And there's
I haven't even watched. I think I watched like 1 episode of the new anime. What is it, Horizons? I watched 1 episode, and then I haven't touched it ever since. Yeah. And honestly, I don't know when or if I will. I probably won't. I probably won't. Yeah.
only been 1 championship with them too. What's also tricky is we often look at how the Pokemon stand in the competitive metagame, which we still did here for sure, absolutely, but in limiting the battle to the Paradox Pokemon, it's difficult, because there are so few of them. And when looking at their standing in the meta, it's always them versus all the other Pokemon, not just them versus other Paradoxes. For instance, Fluttermane is super good in the metagame, which does contribute to why we showed it winning here. It was also one of the only 2 Paradox Pokemon used by the top 8 VGC quarterfinalists and above, being used in 6 out of the 8 teams. But one of the big reasons it's so good in the video game meta is because it's particularly good against other Pokemon common in the meta. Yeah. So how does it do against...
There's also the fact that Ghost and Fairy is just a busted type too. Like, it really is. It is just so busted.
Other Paradox Pokemon specifically? Well, okay, I suppose. There's less data on that, though Smogon does specify its particular...
Okay, now I'm getting paranoid. Is it actually Ghost and Fairy? I have to make sure. Okay, it is. I had to make sure. I wasn't too sure. It's right there. How did I not see that? It's right fucking there, and I didn't fucking see it. What the hell? Jesus. I literally paused it, like, right as that came on and just took my phone out to go look for it, and... Christ.
particularly good against Miraidon and Koraidon. Those poor sandwich-loving dragons gotta fight this ghost fairy. That is an extremely good type combination. Quote, Fluttermane is one of the most threatening wall breakers in Ubers thanks to its incredibly powerful stab combination, near unrivaled speed that is boosted further under Sun, good coverage options, and great defensive typing. And on top of the meta, it's very trickstery in nature, mischievous, and being able to fly.
As the mischievous line typically does, just being trickster and shit.
Go invisible and float through walls, and being relatively small, it has a lot of inherent advantages over the others here. And then in the trading card game, its ability just straight up removes its opponent's abilities. Like, what? How sneaky and powerful. It's no wonder that in the games it is uber tier, the highest.
That's definitely something. It's like, I don't need no damn Gastro Acid or whatever other ability suppressing moves are out there.
Aside from those so stupidly good, they're just blanket banned. And it's in this tier that we also find...
No way that's an actual card. No way that is.
Stupidly good, they're just...
No way. Is this real? Well, damn.
Blanket banned, and it's in this tier that we also find Miraidon and Iron Bundle. Koraidon too, but its perceived alpha cocky attitude most fighting types have, along with other disadvantages, leads it to not being in our final four. I mean, dragon fighting, that is Fluttermane's dream opponent. Not to mention, Koraidon's main damaging...
Yeah, Fluttermane just absolutely dunks on Koraidon. Rhydon too.
Move in the meta, Flare Blitz, damages itself. Fine for one-on-one fights, but not very good for long-term survival in a battle royale situation.
Yeah.
Plus, compared to Koraidon, Miraidon has a lot more fan favor outside the meta. Being an actual bike and all, it's no wonder it's in Pokemon Unite now too. Plus, its electric typing would particularly help.
I did not know it was in Unite. Then again, I don't play Unite. I wasn't really interested in it. I saw it and it looked cool at first, but then I was like, if I ever played Unite, I'm gonna play it for like 20 minutes, maybe even shorter, and then I'm gonna get bored with it, and I'm not gonna touch it ever again. So I didn't even bother with it.
It against the other future paradoxes, being able to short-circuit them when looking at it from an anime or real battle lore perspective. But then, why did Miraidon not win? Well, in the meta, it's super good because of its particularly high speed and access to U-turn, but Iron Bundle is faster, and U-turn is useless in a free-for-all royale setting. But speaking of Bundle, it's Ice
U-turn ain't doing shit in that.
Water type, the ice being super effective against Miraidon's dragon, though Miraidon's electric is good against Bundle's water. But Bundle is faster, and depending on the builds, Bundle is known to one-hit KO Miraidon and Koraidon and more. Plus, in our chosen environment, a Blueberry Academy that floods, its typing gives it an advantage here too.
Whoa, I'm floating.
Plus, consider the rule of cool, or in
Then again, Miraidon could have just shocked the shit out of the water. Then again, I imagine he would have if he got back into the water in the fight. Yeah.
its case, I guess the Gilly of silly. Iron Bundle is very much the silliest Paradox Pokemon, giving it some comedic relief defensive options.
Yeah, and I love it that way, because I've always liked Delibird, but I hated using it because its stats and moves were shit, and then we got this, which is way better. Yeah. It got the glow up it needed.
It survives because it's funnier if it does that. But that all said, why is Screamtail in the top 4?
Why is that?
Screamtail is NU to PU tier in the meta, never used or piddlingly used, aka perfectly useless, aka PU stinky. It's not particularly noteworthy in the metagame at all. For everything it does, there are other Pokemon who...
Yeah, like it has a good typing and everything, but it's... yeah, it's more of a defensive wall, fast one too, and that's pretty much it. So, not really, and I wouldn't really see. There's not really much you could really get out of that in VGC. Maybe you can in like other like gameplay stuff, maybe like maybe in a Nuzlocke or something, but this ain't a Nuzlocke. So yeah.
do it better, so nobody uses it in competitive teams, but it's here because of the context outside the games.
Alright, well, let's
Jigglypuff
hear
is already a particularly beefy poof due to lots of Smash Bros and anime shenanigans, and Screamtail is even tougher. It's a billion-year-old squishy tank,
Imagine they got like, imagine they have released a new Smash Bros and they had like a skin for Screamtail or something. That'd be cool.
And it's loud. Acoustic weapons are really just powerful speakers that send insanely loud and or high/low frequency sounds to take down drones and computer systems. So in lore, Screamtail has the perfect counter to half of the combatants in the Battle Royale, boosting its survivability greatly. Specifically, a
supersonic screams aren't exactly something you want to fuck with. Yeah.
resonant sound at 140 decibels, which it can more than do, messes with gyroscopes, which would cause any drone or robot that uses them, which is most if not all, to suddenly become confused about which way is up, causing confusion and dizziness and missitude. That is a huge boon for our punk balloon. But Iron Hands now. Iron Hands is that other paradox used on the top 8 teams I mentioned, used by 5 of the top 8 champions, so why didn't it make it into the top 4? Well, its cards aren't particularly noteworthy. Amp you very much? Really? That's not even a pun. In the video games, Hands is a tank and a strong physical wall breaker. Literally. It's very fitting of a sumo wrestler. It's good in the games because it happens to work as a
Isn't
good...
it a sumo wrestler? Isn't Hariyama a sumi fucking... Yeah, it's a sumi wrestler. But isn't Hariyama a sumo wrestler? I'm pretty sure it is.
Counter to other non-paradoxes. But in a battle of speedy finalists, it really hurts to be the slowest paradox.
Yeah, it really does, and I don't see it winning against, well, I mean, I can see it tanking Iron Bundle and winning against that, but I don't really see it doing much else to the other 3. Yeah. Like, Screamtail's always gonna fuck it up. I can imagine Miraidon beating it in a 1v1, and Fluttertail just absolutely fucks Iron Thorns, or Iron Hands, Jesus. Yeah.
Especially in a more anime-esque Royale setting, where being fast, small, or high in the air means you can dodge. Hands is none of these things. So what about the Proto-Beasts and Iron Swords? Well, while their stat totals are significantly higher than the other paradoxes, there's not much going for them, actually. None are particularly meta, and aside from a few being kinda big and heavy, none have things that help them much against the others. They are all slow compared to the final 4, are either a dragon type, which is a disadvantage here, or are psychic type, which is a bit of a disadvantage here. But also, those 3 are robots, which against Screamtail and Miraidon is a big disadvantage. So I think all in all, while you could argue any of these 4 could have won, which is why we decided to have the final climactic battle be between the 4 of them, I think I can stand by the idea that Fluttermane would win ultimately.
I can
especially because it can
and not just because I'm biased.
You know, it's a really, really good killer. It's weak in its defenses, but in this particular setting, its defenses are going invisible or hiding in another dimension. So
and we're not gonna act like its special defense isn't gonna and we're not gonna act like its special defense isn't high, because that's definitely gonna help too, because like most of those are pretty much special attackers, and I'm pretty sure Miraidon, well yeah, Miraidon is a special attacker too, so it's pretty defensive against their special attacks too, so that'd definitely be another factor that would play in as well.
Oh yeah, I'm confident in saying Fluttermane would win a Battle Royale, with these 3, and maybe the rest of them on this list, having a decent chance too. But hey, what was your favorite moment in the battle? Let me know down below, and if you want to know all of the deep lore about all of the Paradox Pokemon, we already covered all of that in a series of videos. They are linked here now. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more deep lore Pokemon knowledge, fact stuff, and never stop using your noggin.
Alright. Something gonna happen? He's pop out of the screen, please. Alright, well that works too, I guess. Well, I enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed it too. The original one will be in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Jesus, I suck at outros. Come on. Anyways, just check out the original video. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. God, I hope I did that right. I really need to get better on my outro game.